Hey guys, in the next few minutes I'm going to be showing you how to take this massive hole in the wall and make it look like nothing ever happened. This works for any size hole and only takes 10 easy steps to complete. Hi, my name is Blake, also known as Nailed It here on YouTube. I make videos about DIY and home remodeling. I hope you guys learned something today and save some money in the meantime. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so to get this job done, we're going to need some tools. We're going to need a drywall taping / mudding knife, a drywall mud pan, a stud finder, utility knife, and a screwdriver. Next, we're going to need some supplies, some joint compound / drywall mud, more on this later, some mesh tape, a sanding sponge, and a piece of drywall. The first thing we're going to be doing is taking our stud finder and finding where the studs are in the wall. Next, I'm going to get a board and mark the center of the stud. Now I'm going to be taking my knife and just scoring the top of the sheetrock so I can break it off later. If it helps, you can also use your jab saw, if you have one, to cut the sheetrock. After you have scored the sheetrock, you should just be able to hit it and it will break right where your score line is. If you come across any screws, make sure you remove them. To explain a little bit what we're doing, I'm going to be showing you a visual because I'm a visual person. Let's pretend that this is your stud behind your sheetrock, and this is the big hole that we're trying to patch. If you're trying to patch a hole like this, the best thing to do is to cut out this green square around the hole, leaving half of the stud for this sheetrock to be supported and for your new sheetrock to be supported. So as you can see in the video that I'm cutting down this red line right here in the center of the stud. I can screw in the new piece of drywall to this stud and this stud, but also keeping strength to the rest of the sheetrock that's on the wall already. Now that we have that sorted out, let's go grab our tape measure so we can measure for the new piece of sheetrock. I'm just going to be marking some lines with a pencil so I can score the lines later with my knife. Then we can snap the sheetrock just like we did earlier. So as you can see here, I'm just taking my tape measure and putting it underneath the sheetrock so I can give it enough tension so I can snap the sheetrock. Then once you've snapped it, you can just flip the sheetrock over and cut the paper with your knife. Giving you a nice clean edge cut. Once you're done, it should look something like this, and now we can go test fit it in our hole. Mine was a little long on the top, so I'm just going to go take it back and trim it up a little bit. Once you're satisfied with the fit, we can start screwing in the drywall. I'm just using 1-inch long screws that were taken out of the old piece of drywall. If you've been following this step so far, you should have something that looks like this now. Our next step is going to be taping the cracks with our mesh tape. As you can see here, I'm just putting some mesh tape over the cracks. This is to help the mud so it doesn't crack. That way we don't have to come back and redo it. If you guys are ever interested in the products or tools that I use in this video, all the links will be down in the description. after you've followed all those steps, you should have something that looks like this now. Our next step is going to be our mudding stage. As you can see here, I'm using Easy Sand 20. This hardens after about 20 minutes, but it takes a couple hours to dry. The tools I'll be using is my drywall taping knife and my drywall mud pan. I just wanted to take another second and explain to you the difference between joint compound versus a spackling. Joint compound is meant for larger holes like we're going to be patching today. Spackling is meant for more smaller, like nail holes. Joint compound comes in a couple different sizes. You can get this red container, which is for smaller jobs, or this box, and this is for bigger jobs. This is for more texturing like an entire house or like a large hole. All of them are pre-mixed that you can see on the screen right now, and they dry within about 24 hours. The one I'm going to be using today is a powder, so I'll be mixing it myself, and based off of the bag that you purchase is how fast it's going to dry. So I'm going to be getting the Easy Sand 20, so it's going to harden within about 20 minutes, and it's going to be fully cured within a couple hours. So to wrap up, joint compound is for larger holes, spackling is meant for smaller holes like nail holes. Now back to the video. Depending on how big your hole is how much powder you're going to need or how much joint compound you're going to need. I'm going to be using about this much. And after you mix it, you're going to want about a peanut butter consistency where it won't fall off your taping knife. Now we can start mudding, and you're basically just going to be putting peanut butter on some bread. Go about 6 inches past your tape, and don't worry too much about blending it into the wall. That's going to come later in another step. You're basically just trying to cover up the tape as much as you can and trying to keep the wall as smooth as possible. In order to keep the wall as smooth as possible, I recommend you getting a larger taping knife. Just remember, the wider the blade, the easier it is to smooth out the wall because you have a larger surface area to work with. It's now the next day, and I let my mud dry overnight. Our next step is going to be our sanding step. I'm just going to be smoothing out all the hard lines or the hard edges so that when we go put the second coat on, we can have a nice smooth surface. If you guys have been enjoying the video so far and aren't already subscribed, don't forget to nail that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. I usually just take my hand and go over the whole thing, make sure I don't have any of those hard edges I was talking about. Just to keep things nice and tidy, I'm just going to do a quick cleanup. So now I'm going to be putting my second coat on. You're going to want to start blending in the wall just a little bit more. So rather than going 6 inches past the tape, I'm going to now go about 12 inches past the tape. Since my first coat was a little bit thicker, I'm going to be making this one just a little bit thinner. Plus it'll cut down on my drying time. I think one of the key aspects when patching sheetrock is to do it in layers. Rather than having it in one thick layer, I'd rather have multiple thin layers and have a better result in the end. This is also when you would want to texture your wall, but as you can see later in the video, I'm going to be doing an orange peel texture because that's what my mother-in-law has on her walls. So as you've seen so far, I'm just trying to flatten the wall as best as possible. So I cut down on my sanding, and it'll also make a better blend when I'm done. It is now just a few hours later and my mud has completely hardened because of that thinner layer that I put on. So I'm just going to be sanding it down once again to get rid of any lines or imperfections. Now I'm ready for texture. I'm just going to be using this spray can. It's just this wall texture. It leaves like an orange peel look at the end. So I'm just going to be spraying it on just like a can of spray paint, trying to blend in the wall with the new mud that I just put on. If you followed me up to this point, you should have something that looks like this. It is now the next day again. Since I'm doing orange peel walls, I'm just going to be lightly sanding this down just a tiny bit, just to blend it in just a little bit more. If you have a different texture of wall, you may want to sand it down as well. So now we are on our last step, and that is painting. So I'm just going to be blending in the old paint with the new paint as best I can, plus knocking out this little section down at the bottom that was missed when the wall got repainted. If your finished product looks like this, then congratulations, you nailed it. As a bonus step, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video for more future videos. I hope you guys learned something today and saved some money in the meantime. I'll talk to you guys later.